Dylan Alcott, you said in your Australian of the Year acceptance speech that you're just a guy who hits tennis balls and likes talking. Now, you've retired from hitting tennis balls, but you still get out at all and have a bit of a hit?
Absolutely not. Do you know, this is the first time I've been at a tennis court since I retired, and it's behind me, and you could not pay me enough to have a hit, to be honest. But I've started training again, so because I was feeling a bit unfit and it was affecting my mental health. But I think that's a good feeling. I know I'm done, and it's time for some other things. And yeah, I'm really enjoying myself.
The symbolism of the tennis court being behind you, is pretty apt, really. I think people sometimes find it hard to understand when somebody who's at the peak of their success might choose to walk away from that, but actually it's the best time.
Yeah, it's quite liberating. And I mean, Lee, I'm a big fan of yours. I feel very lucky to be here in your last week, hosting 7:30, but you're in the same boat. You have a great opportunity for what other people would think, and it has been great for both of us, but there comes a time when it's time for something else. And I actually kind of realised that a few years ago, actually, and I was just hanging on till the Paralympic Games, and then it got delayed by a year because of the pandemic, and I'm not going to lie, I was gutted. I didn't know if I was going to be able to hang on, but it was actually quite a refresher. I saw more of my family during the lockdown, and then I was like, all right, one more year deal, you can do one more year. And obviously it turned out, really well. And I am forever grateful for my sporting career. I loved it so much, but, my purpose has never been to win tennis tournaments, not gold medals, not Grand Slams. It's to change perceptions so people with disability, people like me, can live the lives they deserve to live all around the world. And I honestly don't think I needed to play tennis anymore to do that, and that's the reason I get out of bed, and that's why I made that decision. And look, you can see on my face, I know it's the right one. I really do, and I'm glad that I made it.
You've been Australian of the Year now for about half of the term. Has it been what you expected?
Yes and no. First and foremost, I'm incredibly humbled and great. I think it's ridiculous that I won. I'm going to be honest. I still can't believe it, right? I really don't. When people call me Australian of the Year, I still get weird about it because it's just such a huge honour. And as a kid with disability, if you told me anybody in a wheelchair, let alone myself, would be an Australian of the Year, Lee, I would tell you to get stuffed. I really would have, because I just thought it was so far away. And for it to happen to me is extremely cool. And the reason it did is because of the people with disability that came before me. Paralympians like Louise Savage, Kevin Coombs, Kurt Fernley, advocates like Stella Young. People say I smashed the glass ceiling. No, I just poked it because I was standing on top of them, you know what I mean, to help me get there. I'm trying to do the best that I can. You can hear in my voice. This is part from the Logies last week, but also part from getting out and talking. But I am the one who's been given that platform to get out there and talk about something that is very important, which is changing perception so people with disability can do what they want to do, getting them the funding they need via the NDIS so they can do what they want to do, getting greater representation everywhere, things like this in education, in employment, in our parliaments, on our screens. And because I've been given that mantle to get out there and do it, I'm going to work my ass off, Lee.
Because of your role of Australian of the Year and even your very high profile separate to that, you are a voice for people with disabilities and you're held up as a representative. But that would be like asking me to represent all people with red hair. It's just impossible because everyone's so different and everyone's needs are so different. How do you deal with other people's expectations of you? Look,
this took me, I'm 31 years old. It took me 28 years to fully feel worthy with my disability, worthy of love, worthy of support, worthy of recognition, worthy to be on TV. It was that long a journey, right? And it took time and effort to work on that. But the only thing I can have goals to represent everybody the best that I can, but the only expectation I can have is to do the best that I can, Lee. I don't know how to be Australian of the Year. I've never had it before. What do you do, All you can ask yourself is to be the best that you can do, and that's what I'm doing. But to answer your question, people come up to me, perfect example, Dylan, what is it like to have autism? I want to hire someone who is autistic within my workplace. I go, don't ask me. I haven't got autism. Ask someone with lived experience with autism, right? I'm a firm believer of that. And I think part of my role as Australian of the Year is to amplify the voices of other people with disability who know way more than I do. I'm not trying to pretend I know everything because I don't. I only know what I know, and that's through my own experiences. I'm a firm believer of empowering more voices of people with disability across all industries. And you know what? As a Paralympian, we're the lucky ones that people, talk about on TV or get those opportunities. But we need people with disability with greater representation across all industries, and I firmly believe that that's the best way to go about it.
You mentioned how long it took you to feel comfortable in your own skin. I know a young guy with autism and some other challenges, and he sometimes says things like, I suck at life. because the default way that society runs, of course, is not set up to make it easy for people like him. It's harder for people like him. What's your message to young people like that?
One, that breaks my heart. Because I was that kid. Like, when I was 14, you might see me now and be like, oh, he's the luckiest guy in the world, and I am. But I used to hate myself so much. I felt like a burden on society, a burden on my parents, a burden on my brother. I was embarrassed. I used to get called a cripple everywhere that I went. I believed that. I sat at home for 2 years of my life eating junk food, playing video games, embarrassed to go to school or leave the house because I wasn't proud of the person that I was, right? When I hear things like that, all I want to tell young Dylan or this young kid is like, be proud of who you are, right? We all want to be different hairstyles, different cars, different clothes, different schools, different everything. What better way to be different than to have a disability? If you can embrace it, right, and be proud of the person that you are. But you can't expect every child to have that inner confidence to feel like that. It's up to all of us in society to create a space where they feel included, right? That is by things like having accessible workplaces, schools, bars, clubs, festivals, dating apps, online websites, whatever it is. But there's a difference between accessibility and inclusion. You can have the best ramps and elevators in the world, but not care about the people that you are letting in your store, in your school, whatever it is. And I just want to create a society, an environment where that kid can not only survive, but thrive. So he can be the best version of him and do whatever he wants. And I think that's up to all of us to try and provide that.
I sometimes wonder if the absence of that at times is due to a failure of genuine empathy, because I think if people genuinely understood that you could walk out your front door and be hit by a car today, or you could be diagnosed with an illness that would mean that you would be living with a disability, surely then discussions about inclusion would just be a thing of the past, because it would be a given if people genuinely understood that.
Correct, and it affects everyone. So you said before about red hair. I don't know what it's like to have red hair. I'm not from the LGBTQI community. I wasn't born in Southeast Asia. I don't have a religion, right? But all those different diversity groups can be hit by disability at any point, right? It is genuinely something that affects all of us at all times. Tomorrow your mum might get MND, or you might have an accident, or you might have a disabled child. And that's why accessibility, when done properly, is from the start. And it is done cheaply because it affects everybody, right? When you go to the supermarket, there's automatic doors. That makes my life possible to get through that door, but your life easier. You might have Siri on your mobile phone. Able-bodied people think that's for them to make their life easier. No, it's for a blind person to make their life possible. So they can use a phone, right? And when you start changing the narrative around it, it's so important. But that's why people should care about it, not only because it's the right thing to do, but it also makes good business sense as well for organisations to get out there and be accessible. Because what am I? A consumer like everybody else who wants choice and control over what they do, just like everybody else. And look, we're getting better. Like, I'm so glad I'm born now, not 30 years ago, because it was so much tougher, you know what I mean? But it's up to all of us to work together and listen and learn and ask questions and not only talk about it, but do it. Because I think the time for lip service is over, and there are so many young, even like just incredible advocates right across this country talking about it, and they often don't get heard.
Well, I always love bumping into you, always love having a chat with you. Thanks for making time to speak to me right at the end of my term.
And I've got to say to you, in your tenure at 7:30, you've always put time away for disability stories, to talk to people with disability and give us a voice and listen to our lived experience. I mean this. I know we are friends now, but even before we met, I was such a fan because you did that. So thank you so much. Congrats on everything that you've done. Look forward to seeing what you're doing next as well.
That means a lot. Thanks very much, Dylan.
Good on you, Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.